everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wealth Matters Conversation. It's March, and as we all know, it's Women's History Month, a time to celebrate and share stories of inspiring women across the country. Today, I think it's important to share the story of Rosemary, our founder and fearless leader. It's been so wonderful to work with this female team and sharing the story about how she got started and what kept her inspired. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got started.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I appreciate that. I would love to say that I started with this big strategic vision. I would love to say that I launched this firm knowing a path, but I didn't. So I worked for several years at a firm called Genspring Family Offices, and that's how I started in the financial industry. I came from politics. I used to do public relations for the mayor of Tampa. So I went into Genspring as part of their in-house marketing team, and I worked with some amazing individuals. And I was so lucky to be able to work on that team because what they were doing at Genspring was really ahead by decades in the family office industry. And so I was able to be part of their rebrand. I was able to be part of the period of growth where they went from less than 10 billion all the way to more than 20 billion. And it was a time of learning. I never wanted to be in the financial industry, to be quite honest. I always find it very ironic that I work in the financial industry because it wasn't ever something that I desired to do. But I will say, after launching my firm, I love it so much. And I think there's so much opportunity, both from a marketing and public relations perspective, and then also from a female perspective. There's not a lot of females in wealth management. And so I've always felt like my being a female in wealth management, starting this agency, has always given me a little bit of an edge.
How did you get started after you left Genspring? How did you start your own firm?
So when I decided to leave Genspring, there were some corporate changes happening, and I knew that my time there might be limited. It also coincided with my having twin baby girls. I had a 20-month-old little girl at home, and then I had my twin baby, so 3 children under the age of 2. I wanted to stay in the workforce, but it was impossible for me to do it the way that I was doing it in the office. Working from home back then was not an option for me, and so I decided to leave Genspring at that time and launch Wealth Matters. And at that time, I was able to work with several individuals whom I admired so much at Genspring. I was able to work with them in this new chapter because they had decided to also leave and start new firms. So that is how Wealth Matters Consulting began. I started working with these people that I already knew, whom we had been working with for years.
What was your vision when you started?
In all honesty, I didn't have a vision. All I wanted to do was make enough money to pay for childcare to help me with my children. But because the wealth management industry, as it relates to marketing, public relations, really was underserved, there weren't a lot of agencies around that served wealth management firms. So after I launched Wealth Matters, it grew. It grew organically without a clear vision. At about 5 years in, I started to see that this had a lot of potential to grow exponentially, and we have. It was at that point that the mission and vision for Wealth Matters really came to fruition. So our mission is to serve wealth advisors with excellence in everything that we do. And my vision is to create a place for female creatives in the wealth management industry to be able to thrive in a professional environment that's going to give them a career path with a future.
It's so interesting that you decided to keep it all professional women. Like, that's so wonderful.
I feel like being an all-female team gives us a lot of advantages. As we all know, the wealth management industry is male-dominated, but that's fine. We love our male colleagues. But what it does mean is that a lot of these wealth management firms need a female perspective. They realize now that women are becoming wealth creators, wealth inheritors, divorcees with a lot of wealth. Women are suddenly in control of their wealth because of death or divorce or incapacitation. And being able to speak to a female audience has suddenly become very important. And a lot of firms are not prepared to do that. This is a radical change from the relationships of 10, 15, or 20 years ago when the female voice was not really a part of the relationship. So being an all-female team has given us a bit of an edge. It also allows us to stay true to our culture that we've had since the founding of the firm.
That is so interesting and wonderful to hear. Of course, always glad to be part of this all-female team. Speaking of having an edge, the firm is located in what people are now calling Wall Street of the South. How has that benefited you and Wealth Matters?
We certainly have seen a shift that actually began before COVID. There was a lot of talk of South Florida becoming the Wall Street of the South, but COVID certainly accelerated that shift. We're seeing wealth management firms, financial firms, asset management firms move down to South Florida in very large numbers. West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, all have become financial hubs. And I think what we're seeing is that these firms who are moving down are certainly forward thinking. They are looking to the future. They are hyper aware of the need for marketing and public relations in the wealth management industry to stay competitive. So for us, that has been an advantage, albeit a serendipitous advantage, because I did already live in West Palm Beach.
That is so exciting, and I agree. It's great to live down here and be with everyone that we work with. But it's not all advantages. Can you tell me about a couple obstacles that you faced along your journey?
Well, when you're starting a business, I do sort of feel like it's all an obstacle. So
I believe that.
Every day there's a new one.
Yeah.
When I started the firm, it was just me at my kitchen table with a computer, doing, consulting work by myself. And I realized very quickly that I couldn't do it by myself. So I started to hire a person here, hire a person there. I would take on a client or two and hire somebody else, but there was no strategic vision. There was no structure. There was no path that I had created for growth. So at about year 7 or 8, I had to sort of dismantle everything, take it apart, rearrange some things, and create a structure that was scalable that would allow us to grow. I also think there's a lot of challenges associated with organic growth with no outside capital. Since the founding of our firm, we've never received outside capital. So everything has been very bootstrapped. We've always had positive growth year over year. And I think that can be a wonderful thing, but it can also hinder growth in a lot of ways, because a lot of the strategic decisions that I would want to make, I wouldn't be able to make.
Right.
And another challenge that I think all professional women feel is the sense of being spread thin, right? So balancing a family, parents, your work, a personal life, while still maintaining a work-life balance can be very challenging. And it is one of my goals here at Wealth Matters to be able to offer a place for women to work that allows for that balance.
So something that you all don't see is that Rosemary and I are always in front of the camera trying our best, but there's a whole team of women behind the scenes, recording our videos, recording the podcast, editing the videos, really taking the time to make our services top-notch, as good as they can be, all of the above.
Excellent.
So it's just been really inspiring to work with everyone. I think it's great to be surrounded by women, and not only is it in Wealth Matters Consulting, but also you've set up a great network of women outside of Wealth Matters Consulting. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, so we are active members of the Wealth Collaborative, which is a local group of women who are in the wealth management industry. We meet several times a year to talk about the challenges and opportunities in wealth management. What are the best practices around serving families? That's been interesting to see that grow. And also this year will be a first-time event for the Ultra High Net Worth Institute for female advisors in the wealth management industry. That's very exciting. It will be held here in Palm Beach.
So you've never seen being a woman in the finance industry as a disadvantage?
No, in fact, quite the opposite. I have felt for a long time that firms are beginning to understand the need to speak to a female audience, but they don't always have female representation inside their firm. So working with our firm makes it a very easy, very seamless experience to hire a team of all female professionals to help them do that. And to quote one of my all-time favorite people, Mel Lagamassino, I've heard her say several times that her being a female was always an advantage. And when she's the only female in a room full of men, it makes her quite memorable. And I've always felt the same way.
Words of wisdom.
Yes, love her.
What a great story to share. And I know that I can speak for myself and the team that you can't see behind the scenes to say thank you for all of your work and for supporting women and for everything that you've done in the industry.
So happy to have you on our team, Carla. Thank you so much.
I think we're all so happy to be here. Thank you.